When one party borrows money from another, debt is established. In certain circumstances, the mental anguish of owing a debt surpasses the financial ramifications. Debt can have a negative impact on your mental health, employment, health, and relationship over time. In today's video, we're going to talk about debt. You may think you already know what debt is, but we're going to break down the concepts and clear up some misconceptions, so watch this video to the end for that. We've all been in debt at some point in our life, whether that was borrowing money from a friend or taking out a loan from a bank. Many financial studies suggest that debt is the leading cause of financial difficulty. With so many enticing credit card offers and excellent interest rates on loans, it's tempting to select debt in a vulnerable financial situation only to fall victim to its vicious cycle. If you only take out a loan when absolutely necessary and are confident that you'll be able to return it, it's a win-win situation for both you and the financial institution. However, some of us choose to go into debt in order to address a monetary problem, only to feel imprisoned when we are unable to repay and are unable to accomplish everything we wanted with our money. In certain circumstances, the mental anguish of owing a debt surpasses the financial ramifications. Debt can have a negative impact on your mental health, employment, physical health, and relationships over time. So let's first define debt, the various sorts of debt, and when we should avoid it at all costs. What is debt? Debt is money owed by one entity to another, a person, business, organization, or government. When you borrow money, you usually agree with the lender that you will repay it on a set timeline, perhaps with interest or a charge. Most individuals are aware of popular types of debt, such as credit cards, vehicle, student, and mortgage loans. How does debt work? Contrary to the popular belief of some debt experts, people don't take on debt because they have nothing better to do. People in more vulnerable situations take on debt because they need or desire to buy something that is more expensive than they can afford in cash. Alternatively, people who are financially better positioned may choose to utilize their cash for something else, so they borrow money to cover a specific transaction. Some debts can only be utilized for specific purposes. A mortgage loan, for example, is used to purchase real estate, whereas a student loan is used to pay for education. The borrower does not receive the money directly for these forms of debt. Instead, the funds go to the person or organization that provides the goods or service. In the case of mortgage loans, for example, the money is received by the seller or seller's bank. Based on their income and other expenses, each person can only handle a specific amount of debt. When a person or organization, business, or government becomes unduly indebted, they may need to file for bankruptcy to obtain legal debt relief. This legal procedure permits the debtor to be relieved of certain obligations. Once a person's debts have been discharged by the bankruptcy court, creditors can no longer demand payment. Good debt versus bad debt. While all debt has a cost, you can generally describe any borrowed money as good or bad based on how it affects your finances and life. Good debt assists you in increasing your income or building wealth. However, bad debt does not deliver many benefits or return on investment. Student loans and mortgages are common instances of good debt because they can assist you in increasing your earning capacity and building wealth. Credit cards and personal lines of credit are typically classified as bad debt because they do not give a return on investment and frequently have interest rates that are significantly higher than those on mortgage and student loans. Depending on the conditions, a high interest rate loan is likely a bad debt, and the use, an auto loan could be a good or bad debt. A car that gets you to and from your job is essential, making the loan a good debt. If this video is giving you value, write debt payoff in the comment section. I'll do my best to reply to every comment I get. Types of debt. Let's discuss the different types of debt so we know what kinds of debt we should look out for next time we consider borrowing money. Secured debt. Secured debt is a sort of debt that is backed up by another asset or guarantee for the purpose of collateral. It's common for a lending institution to do a credit check to examine credit history. This collateral is given or promised to the lender in the event that the borrower fails to repay the loan. For example, if you take out a loan to buy a car, the lender will provide you with the funds to make the purchase. If you fail to repay the loan, the lender may seize and sell the vehicle to recoup the payments. Depending on the value of the collateral, secured loans have lower interest rates. Mortgage loans, auto loans, and secured credit cards are examples of common secured debts. Unsecured debt. Unsecured debt, on the other hand, is not tied to collateral and does not provide creditors with the power to seize your property if you default on the loan. Unsecured debt includes things like unsecured credit cards, school loans, medical bills, and payday loans. If you do not pay an unsecured obligation, creditors will frequently sell unpaid debts to a third-party collection agency rather than repossessing your property. Debt collectors employ a variety of methods to collect payment, including calling you, sending letters, and placing the debt on your credit report. If such efforts fail, the collector may sue you and seek permission from the court to garnish your salary. One example of unsecured debt is a payday loan. Payday loans are a sort of short-term loan, high-risk unsecured debt. In many parts of the US, the typical APR for a $300 payday loan is more than 300%. Revolving versus installment debt. Debt repayment is typically divided into two types, revolving and installment. Revolving debt does not have to be paid back on a set schedule. You can use a credit line as long as you make the minimum monthly payments on any outstanding balance. A credit card, for example, is a frequent tool to obtain revolving debt. Installment debt, on the other hand, has a set loan amount as well as a set repayment period. A personal loan is an example of an installment loan. You may repay it over a certain number of months or years, and your payments are usually the same amount each month. The benefits of debt? As we've learned in this video, not all debt is created equally. There is good debt and bad debt. The benefits of debt increase as you learn to avoid bad debt. Those benefits include the following. A freer budget. When you have a lot of debt, the payments on the debt consume a large portion of your income. If you can find a way to pay off that debt sooner, you'll have additional money from your paycheck every month to spend on the things you actually want to. Greater ability to build wealth. Another thing you can do with the additional money you save by paying off your debt is to invest it. If you aren't contributing enough to your retirement accounts right now, that extra money can make the difference between retiring at 65 and working into your golden years. And if you've already maxed out your retirement contributions, investing the money into other investments can help you realize financial independence and retire earlier. Improves credit score. Carrying a lot of debt has a negative impact on your credit rating. The closer your credit cards and loans are to being maxed out, the lower your credit score will be. A low credit score can cost you a lot of money in the form of excessive interest rates, making it more difficult to get out of debt. The amount of debt you can comfortably take on is limited by your income. If you overdo it, you'll rapidly find yourself in a bind. Even if your debt load is little, keep in mind that there are many better ways to spend your money. No matter how much debt you have right now, pay it down, and then once it's gone, start allocating those payments toward your savings. Reduce risk. One of the most dangerous aspects of being in debt is the risk it introduces into your life. If you're currently in debt and don't have any emergency funds, you're constantly one financial blow away from disaster. Debt is an obligation that forces one party, the debtor, to pay another party, the creditor, money or other agreed upon value. Debt differs from instantaneous purchase in that there's a deferred payment or series of repayments. Debt can often be a solution that is worse than the problem it was intended to solve. However, all debt is not the same. Debt that can be used to increase your income or wealth is considered good debt, while debt that doesn't pay off in the end is considered bad debt. That'll do it for this episode, guys. If you're interested in getting cool stuff and great educational materials, take a look at the affiliate links in the description. They're a great way to support the channel. If you choose to use them, I will be compensated, but at no extra cost to you. Check out these videos on your screen on how to improve your finances. If you like this video, hit the like button so the YouTube algorithm promotes our video to other like-minded people. Be sure to subscribe and share the video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.